Pickle, let's go to the hotline. We are pleased to be joined by the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, the voice of the Texas Longhorns, the host of the Craig Way Show on AM 1300 The Zone, the host of High School Scoreboard Live, all sorts of things, and our friend, Craig Way. Happy holidays, Craig Way.
It is a holiday, isn't it? And I'm not even talking about Thanksgiving since we're still 2 weeks off from that. But you know what? It's the holiday season because we've got playoff packages have been unwrapped. Now we get to see the playoffs in all their beautiful glory starting tonight.
It is truly great, and 352 UIL Texas high school football games scattered across the state. I want to talk a lot about high school, but first, I want to talk about, touch briefly on your other job as the voice of the Texas Longhorns. Texas heads to Fayetteville for Saturday morning's affair with the Hogs. There's a lot of history between these two programs. In many ways, this magazine and this publication, this company, was built around Texas versus Arkansas in many ways. And I know you are a student of history, and you're somebody who really kind of sinks your teeth into not just the present and the future, but also the past. I have to imagine that for you, Texas at Arkansas resonates pretty resoundingly with you as you head to Fayetteville this weekend.
If for no other reason, because that was the one place where I've been to in college football where I was actually almost hit with a pimento cheese sandwich. That happened in 2004. It was 20 years ago, and it was a non-conference game, and Texas was playing at Arkansas, and I'm walking up to the press box up this hill because, after all, we are in the hills there in Fayetteville. And you know what they say? It's like that old horror movie, the hills have eyes. So there's people standing up on this ledge kind of looking at us. Now, I'm wearing a suit. I've got on like a dark gray suit, but I guess it was the burnt orange tie that gave it away. And I gave one glance up there, and as I walked up the hill, all of a sudden, I see something flying down at me, and I just stopped in my tracks, and it hit on the pavement about 5 feet in front of her. Splat. It's a pimento cheese sandwich. I thought, what a perfectly good waste of pimento cheese to do that. So we know how Arkansas feels about Texas, that's for sure. And, Sark said that, I think it was Joe Tessitore on the last time they were there 3 years ago, that the Arkansas Razorback fans hate Texas more than they like their team. And Sark said they might be right. And Sam Pittman agreed. The coach, he said, yeah, they might be right about that. So yeah, it's a little intense going up there.
It will be a lot of fun. The Texas Longhorns taking on the Arkansas Razorbacks on Saturday morning. You can hear Craig Way on the call on the Texas Radio Network, presented by Learfield. All right, Craig, the playoff brackets are out. The 2024, the 704 teams are set. The road to Arlington has been paved. I asked you last week about the bracket you were most excited to unwrap. You mentioned 5A Division II and 3A Division I. It does feel like there were a couple of shifts there in the last couple of weeks that helped make these brackets even more interesting. I am curious to know, when you take that first glance at these first-round matchups, which ones are really standing out to you as the ones that you're going to be paying the most attention to tonight, tomorrow night, and then Saturday as well?
The funny thing is, I don't know if you do like me, we allow our eyes to shift ahead and see what could be. So I look at at round one, and I'm conditioned to do this, and I think you are as well. I think those of us who are, freaks and nerds and geeks about all of this kind of stuff, and that includes you, and it includes Pickle, and it includes Matt Stepp, and all of us who do this sort of thing, we look, and then our eyes kind of almost involuntarily shift to see what the second round matchup would be, because in large measure, not every measure, but in large measure, the first round matchups are pretty much going to be weighted in favor of the favored teams. That's just the way the bracket works. So what I did, I did that, and I'm looking, and then I look, and I mentioned this to you the other day, I'm looking at another bracket, and you brought this up, and I'm in complete agreement with you that I think could really be interesting, is 2A Division II. And I look, and I automatically was looking ahead to a possible second-round matchup between Wellington and Collinsville, and saying, wow, that'd be fun. And then there's other second-round matchups like that as well. Now, that's to take nothing away from the first round, because we all get excited about the first round of the playoffs. But in first round, when the expected teams don't win, by and large are considered to be sizable upsets. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases are. And then you have some that are just bangers. I mean, this Gordon May 6-man D1 game, that's like a semifinal or a quarterfinal. It's not a round one game, even in a bracket of 32. It doesn't strike it, but there it is sitting out there. So that's the matchup that I'm most excited to see in round one, simply because of the quality and the depth and the pedigree of those two programs.
Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer, join us here at Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Craig, I want to ask you about a recent shift in a couple of years ago, where the UIL allowed the higher seeded teams to have home field advantage, or the option, I should say, to have home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. We're now a couple of years into this happening, and so we've got a little bit of data set. We've seen what it all looks like. I'm curious now, a couple of years out from that decision and seeing it now as these pairings come out in the first round, if you feel like this is a good thing, bad thing, if it's a neutral thing, where you stand on the home field advantage for the higher seeded teams in the first round.
I like it. I think it's fair. I do. But there are also wrinkles. Let me also say this. It does help with scheduling, because you and I both know that some of the larger neutral site venues, or even ones that are classified, I started calling this years ago, neutral home. And I've heard some coaches say home neutral. It's the same thing. But when it helps ease the overcrowding and overbooking of large venues that we go to see games, and you might see a triple header and a quadruple header, and we might have lost something out of that. I mean, you're talking to a guy who remembers calling 9 a.m. breakfast bowl games, at Texas Stadium back in the day. So some of that has gone the way because of the home and home thing. But I do think it's fair and equitable for the higher seed. Now, there are wrinkles. For example, the Lake Travis Round Rock game, that Round Rock has chosen not to play that game at Dragon Stadium. That not only is like a home ISD stadium, like, for example, Kelly Reeves is for McNeil and for Westwood. They share it. It's an off-site thing over on Palmer Lane. Their home stadium, Dragon Stadium, is on the Round Rock ISD campus, on the Round Rock High School campus, but they chose not to play there. They're going to play the game at Kelly Reeves. And I think it's by and large because they can draw a bigger crowd there, and that probably helps the gate as well. But there are wrinkles within that. And then you have some other quirks. Another matchup down here in the Austin area, Dripping Springs is playing a first-round matchup against McNeil, and they're the higher seed to get to play it at home. Here's the odd thing. Had McNeil lost to Hutto and Hutto got in, Hutto would have gone Division I. Vista Ridge would have gone Division II, and Vista Ridge would have gotten to host that game because they played last year at Drip. Instead, Vista Ridge gets a ticket to the Hills of Westlake to take on Westlake in the D1 bracket because McNeil knocked off Hutto. So there are wrinkles within this system, but by and large, I think it's equitable.
Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer, joins us every Thursday on Texas Football Today. All right, Craig, one of the other things that stands out to me and that I love about the playoffs is that we really do start to sort out regionally, and we really start to get these two regions playing each other, regions playing one another. During district play, obviously, teams kind of retreat to their necks of the woods, so to speak. And then now that the playoffs start, even in the first round, we get these cross-regional matchups. I submit to you a perfect example of Pflugerville-Weiss taking on Angleton. And to me, one of the great joys, and I want to get your take on this, one of the great joys of the playoffs coming around is that we will now have a real win-it-matters-most measuring stick of Greater Austin versus Greater Houston, and we can use that to further triangulate exactly where the centers of power in Texas high school football lie.
Yeah, and to use your term, power nexus, and to see where it goes. And usually we have to wait till 3, 4, sometimes 5 rounds deep, when you might get a Katy Westlake or a North Shore Westlake or something like that to see that type of deal. So it does create those things. And like I said, the curiosity is the way the brackets are split up. And this is a direct byproduct of the divisions being split from 5A down through A before the season begins. I mean, how else are you going to have, Leander Rouse playing at Highland Park, which has a lot of people scratching their heads down here about that, having to go up there for a bi-district game to travel basically 190 miles. So, but that happens. And in West Texas, obviously, they're used to it. And that's one of the lovely things you and I were talking about that I just absolutely love is the fact that we've got 3 Texas high school football playoff games being played in New Mexico and 1 in Oklahoma. And it's spreading the love, Tep. That's what it's doing, is just spreading the gospel of Texas high school football across state boundaries.
A final question for you. I'm not going to make you do the biggest, which game you're going to. I think, is it Gordon May? That's my guess.
Yep.
It
would be. If I could be there tomorrow night instead of in Arkansas, I would be at Gordon and May.
I think that's absolutely the correct choice. So I guess my final question for you then is, you've got the 12 state champions out there, the defending state champs from 2023. My question for you, Craig Way, which one would you say is most likely to repeat? And which would you say is least likely to repeat, or three-peat, or what have you?
Most likely to repeat, I'm going to say, would be Gunner.
Okay.
In 382, I would say they would be the most likely. Let me put it to you this way. Instead of least likely, I'd say the one with the biggest challenge would be Gilmer. Mm-hmm. Because of all of the power that's in 4AD2, led by, of course, the Big Red Sea. So it's going to be hard for, and Gilmer's proven they could do it to Carthage if they went up against it. And let me also say this, lest we forget, Pleasant Grove is dynamite going into this thing. So that's what I would say would be the most the most challenging for a team to repeat would be 4AD2.
I tend to agree. I might lump Timpson into that mix as well in 2AD1. But this time of year, you never know. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and one of the guys we trust to get his takes every Thursday is Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer. Hear him on the Craig Way Show, AM 1300 The Zone, every weekday down there in Austin. You can hear him call Texas and Arkansas on the Texas Radio Network presented by Learfield, and he will be checking in with us on High School Scoreboard Live tomorrow night. So, Craig, safe travels, my friend, and enjoy Hog Country.
I will be greatly disappointed if you do not find your way to a Sunray playoff game before the Bobcats reach state in the event that they are able to reach it in 2AD1.
We may have to. I may have to. I believe Steps going out to Amarillo just to see Sunray this weekond. So
there you go. Good call.
At least he has the courage.
I'm already jealous. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, y'all.
There he goes. Craig Way, the Texas High School Hall of Famer, joins us every Thursday here on Texas Football Today.